So this is a projector conversation with Tiffany Kipp, and I'm going to let Tiffany sort of introduce herself in just a moment. But just as background for those who are watching this, Tiffany and I are both projectors, and we have been just having a conversation back and forth via email for a while. And one of the things that really I got an internet unstable thing. Okay. So we've been having these conversations for a while, and one of the things that really kind of stimulated this back and forth that caught my eye, Tiffany, in one of the first emails you sent me was something that you said, and I'm just going to just say it
Yeah,
as a quote. We are projector. Nobody can tell us or make us different, even by looking at how we live life or are conditioned. Being conditioned doesn't make us less projector. It can just burn us out. So, so, so that was, it was just such deep wisdom because we are born projector. We are projector. And nothing can take our projectorness away from us. It's just kind of how we live it. And then our
yeah,
conversation has just deepened, and we've been sort of rooting around in this idea that we sort of want to go public with the conversation at some point. And then you said something about a question. You posed a question in one of your emails. Is trust a prerequisite for love? In the sense that to trust the universe is to know and understand how the universe loves us and we love it back, going beyond illusion of separation. So, that's a big, deep pool right there. But, the question of is trust a prerequisite for love really lit me up. Um,
mm,
and sort of pinged on my splenic response. And I was like, that's something that we can root around in and pull things out and maybe come to some shine lights on certain things that would help other projectors claim more of their projectorness. So before we
yeah.
go into this question of is trust a prerequisite for love,
hmm
do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into fostering this conversation between us?
Yes. Well, thank you. I think that to start off with, so I'm Tiffany, and I have been interested in human design for, I think, from the end of 2018 now. Around Christmas, I found human design, and I think about a year afterwards, I found the gene keys. And for me, I think within the first 2 weeks of finding out about human design, I went all deep. I had to find out everything. And I did a reading with a really skillful and really nice lady who did readings for a long time already, Darshana Matthews. And it was a really nice reading, but I also noticed that you can get a lot of information, but only through doing the experiment to really reflect it upon your life, you can understand what it all means. And it will unfold itself throughout years. So when you say what you said in the beginning about us being projectors, what I read a lot comments, for instance, on Facebook, is people said I was so conditioned and I lived a generator life, or I had a lot of generators or manifesting generators in my family. And um, the thing about that is that even though that might seem how we have lived our lives, I believe that we've always been that projector, but we've just looked at ourselves through the glasses of our family or other people that are important to us. And we didn't know most of the time that we were projectors. We only met the struggles. For instance, for me, I met a lot of struggles around the energy distribution for myself. I got 3 burnouts, which is really heavy, was really heavy, but it also shows me something about, and I really had to learn about how I need to deal with my energy. And I have my root defined. So it means that I do have a little bit of energy, but I learned that that energy is not to be accessed by other people. It's only for myself and the things that give me joy. So I need to find the things that inspire me, and then I have energy for that, but not
Yes.
to give away. And I gave all my energy away, and that's when I'm left without energy until I go beyond my boundary.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that the seeing or having that insight about it, just being a projector, coming more deeper into yourself, seeing yourself, learning about yourself in relationship to other people. I think that says a lot about me, about how I look at the world and look at how I can discover the world through relationships. I have a profile that is a 4-6 profile, and I really resonate with my life being all about relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why I noticed I'm 45 now, and I've done a lot of work throughout the years, a lot of work on my shadow parts, I would say, a lot of work with psychologists, I would say, um, learning about myself, growing, and I'm now at that point where I feel it's sort of um, the how do you say the bottom of the barrel, and that's where it all comes together around relationships. And what is the basic for relationships is love. So it had me look at my love relationships with a partner. Um, it had me look or has me look at love relationships with my family members, and also the love of life. How do I love life? How do I have that relationship with life? And I thought that I trusted life enough until I found out I didn't.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And then the question came up, and I was like, okay, what is the difference between love and trust? Can you love something or someone, but also be honest that that trust isn't there yet?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we even have to think about, okay, if I don't trust someone, am I then even able to say that I can really love the other person? And it also reflects towards myself, because if there is trust missing, it starts with me. So if there is a lack of trust within myself, let's say, for instance, self-doubt, or not trusting that the universe is here to support me. Um, I think all those different types of trust, if I don't find them within myself, how can I be able to trust somebody else and thus love somebody else?
Deep questions. Deep
Yes,
question.
yes.
And I think you covered the entire gamut of like love, trust. Can you love someone if you don't trust them? Uh, and that bringing that back to self-love is so, it's like the whole thing. And several things popped up as you were talking. Um, One was that the focus that you have on relationship and how you related that to your 4-6 profile. And
Mm-hmm.
what popped up for me is I have a wide split. I'm a 3-5 profile, but I have a wide split. So
Mm-hmm.
relationships are important to me in a
Mm-hmm.
different way
Yeah.
because I have, my head and ajna are defined and my root and spleen are defined. And
So it's open.
I need people
Yes.
in between. And then, and the other thing that popped up is the um the whole trust thing and how that's the underlying point of mastery, or an underlying point of mastery for projectors in particular.
Yes.
The self-trust, because we have such we have a strategy that doesn't produce immediate results. Those invitations
Definitely. Yeah.
for those big things, we could be waiting 50 years for that big thing. And you're
Yes.
45, as a 4-6 profile, sixth line is you've got 5 more years
Yeah.
before you come off
I'm
the
on that
roof.
roof. Yes.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about your perception or your experiences of self-trust, like cultivating trust in yourself.
Yeah. Before I do, because I sort of lost my train of thought, but what I also wanted to say, which I think is very important, that I feel like this part of trust, as you said, mastery, that pinged me. um, it's a big part of our success, I believe. Now
Yes.
that is what gives us the feeling of success, when we are fully feeling capable, fully feeling aligned, fully feeling that we can do what we are here to do. And that's also all about trust. So
I'm so glad you came back to that point and you illuminated that point, because that connecting the trust with the success is like the stitch in the claw that makes us more stronger and more resilient projectors.
yes.
Yeah, and personally, I struggle a lot, or have had to work a lot with my ever deepening relationship to myself and
Mm,
trusting myself,
yeah.
in a sense of, it comes up as like self-esteem issues,
Yes.
or those issues of being in the gap between
Mm,
recognitions,
yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
struggling with the mental chatter that goes on, and the self-criticism and things like that
Mm,
that come up,
yeah.
that I've had to, that's part of my experiment. That's part of my experience of really being present with that
Yeah.
and moving through it. So and as I've unraveled that for myself,
Mm,
it has uh, taken me into deeper and deeper levels of really being able to see um, how I may undermine my own self-trust, where I
yes.
may like throw myself under the bus at
Yeah.
times, or, where I've actually developed a deeper sense of trust in
Yes.
myself, in my knowing, in what brings
Mm,
me joy. We both have that 1858 channel that you
yeah.
mentioned in the beginning about, that's for us to to use for finding our own joy and
Yeah.
perfecting that.
Yeah.
So the more I see both sides of the trust issue,
Mm,
but the more fine-tuned and stronger I get in developing that trust of
yeah.
me, what's it of that I can trust myself to
Yeah.
support myself energetically, take care of myself, and also that
Yeah.
I can
Yeah. Yeah.
trust the universe.
Yeah.
So, so what's that
What?
bringing up for
Uh,
you?
I think that journey is part of the projector journey. Um, I think it's very much finding out what it means to trust. For us, also to, as a guide, be that example for what it really means. Because being a guide, we direct people back to themselves. It's not going to be about us, but it's about directing them back to themselves through our example. Like we are having this conversation, and that can ring bells or resonate for other people. And that's how we guide you. That's how we help you look inside and reflect inside. For me, I had a difficult journey from a young age on. I have the 48 gate, what do you say, activated, which, as you said, for me, it's all about the deep. And I believe, I don't remember, but I do believe that I came with deep things as a young child. And in my family, I wasn't received. I wasn't seen. I wasn't heard. I even had this upbringing where what my parents said, that was what went. That was the truth. And if I would have a different view or a different opinion or saw different things and talked about it, if it was disapproved about my parents, it was very much related, and it got very much related to my identity. So then I felt I was disapproved of, not even what I said, but it was like I was identifying very much with my experience. And when my experience wasn't recognized, as is very important for us, I felt I wasn't recognized.
Mm.
And that was really hard. And that actually, when I got my first burnout, I was around 25, and it was for me the first time that I felt deeply sad and deeply aware of not having my place, not having a space. I have loving parents, and they took very well care of me. But what we as projectors need is that recognition. So if you live in a household that loves you and takes care of you, but can't recognize you, that is what is very difficult for us.
Yes.
And I didn't have that. So that's why I say I didn't have a bad childhood, but it was really difficult for me because as a person, I wasn't seen and recognized. And it was also that when I would have a different opinion, it made the other person feel like I was invalidating them. And that wasn't what I was doing. But I also have to say what I'm also learning is that that is also a view we can have nowadays. When I was younger, that was a different generation, and it was a generation where your parents did have a lot to say and did, if not everything to say, at least in my household. And now I can have a different opinion from my parents, and they won't take it as personal anymore.
Yes. Yes.
So that is an important part in it, and the other part is that my last burnout, I think that was about 10 years ago, I would say. I had to really I had to struggle so much and really get through to validating my own view, because I felt depressed, I felt burnout, and I felt nobody could truly help me, because when they would come with a suggestion, I would still feel it was wrong for me. And I would know what I needed, but I had to believe in that. I had to recognize myself in that. So that was the journey. And it
Mm.
took a long time. It was like a year and a half before I really got through it, because I was so conditioned to believe that everything that I thought was um, came second to what another person thought. So I wouldn't believe myself, wouldn't trust myself before I would trust somebody else with the truth, or at least my truth,
Mhm.
what was good for me. And I had really had to work at changing that, work at validating that, which was really hard, and which um, also didn't immediately mean that um, by doing that, I trusted myself fully. Trust came back in, but from that point on, I have still been working on that part that is trust, that
Mhm.
part that is self-recognition, that is valuing yourself. And by valuing yourself, being able to put yourself in the world, sorry, like when you say when you have your own business, it's so important that you are able to see your value, because you're bringing something to the world, to the other person. Um, but for that, you have to really recognize who you are, and what you have to bring, and that it is very valuable. And although in general, we know that everybody has something valuable to offer, um, but yeah, then real life is also present, and our insecurities are also present. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And your your story about how you have developed trust in yourself really illuminates the kind of like the fundamental process of how that is done. It's not like it just happens. It's a practice.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And I'm still practicing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm wondering how your your trust practice, your practice in building
Mm-hmm.
trust
Mm-hmm.
relates to the love piece of our conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to root around in that for a bit?
Yeah. So I'll make a little step. The next step that I did or had to do is bring back in the parts that I had denied from myself, letting them in, the parts that I fractured off. I had to let them back in. And I also um, had to accept them as they are, and then sort of make myself whole again in that sense. I had a of ha or had had sorry, I have had a love life where I wanted to give and share so much love with the other person, but I sort of always ended up with choosing someone who wasn't fully available. And then because I worked on myself, I was like, okay, at a certain point, I said, okay, no more men in my life. I will work on myself first, and then I'll try again. And then I worked on myself, and I was like, okay, I'm not done yet. I mean, I'll probably never be done, but I'm okay. I feel I got my parts back. I feel confident enough. I have so much love to give. And then I meet this amazing guy, and we click, and everything fits, and he's not available. And I was, seriously, my soul, what, seriously? Are you kidding me? I was like, nah, what happened here? What happened here? And then I was like, okay, so what, what is still off? What is still off? You know? And because as I said, relationships are really important for me, and being able to share my love is very important for me. And then I found a coach because I thought, no, I need to work on this. I don't want this to drag out. And I also feel that I cannot do this by myself. And I'm honest enough that I know when I need help. When I feel I really need help, I'll go look for it. So I had, by now I've had 2 sessions. And the first thing that immediately came up was trust.
Mm. Which in turn activated this aspect of our
Yes,
behind the
of our
scenes
conversation.
conversation.
Yes. And then I was like, okay, so I might think I'm ready to give love and to trust somebody else, um, to to align, with that right frequency maybe as well. But there is still a big part of me which is unconscious, which doesn't trust. And I realize and I know that I had a sort of upbringing, or I saw, of course, like we all see the relationship of our parents, how they love, how they trust each other, how they are in connection with each other. And I just saw how that also plays out in my life.
I actually have a couple
Yeah.
of questions. So
Yeah.
one
Bring it on.
is, okay, one is like, where are you with that now? And then the other question is,
Mhm.
how does this relate back to uh, your human design experiment, and
Mhm.
something in particular that popped up in our email
Conversation.
conversation
Yeah. Yeah.
about relating all life experiences to the actual experiment, meaning the human design experiment.
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
interpret it.
Yeah.
So uh, you can choose to address any of
Mhm.
those.
Yeah. 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 Let's see. Um, I think for me, doing the experiment means when you have an insight, you can relate it to a team in your life. And in looking at where I'm at the moment, what a big insight was for me that I am the firstborn child, and there is 5 years between me and my sisters. I have twin sisters and a brother. And there's 5 years between us. So there's a lot of time where I was alone with my parents. And there was this dynamic between my parents where my father was not always around. And when my father wasn't around, I was the confidant of my mother. She shared a lot of things with me. I had a lot of things to say. Um, and even when my sisters were there, I'm the oldest, so that gives me a certain responsibility. And then when my father was there, he would, of course, assume the responsible father role again. So a big insight for me, I have the channel of the alpha. And that means that I'm built for leadership. And I really realized that I got inappropriate leadership given to me when my father wasn't there. And then when he was there, it was sort of taken away. And that's why it was inappropriate, because I shouldn't have gotten that role. Because as a child, you shouldn't be you shouldn't be giving that responsibility. Your parents are still the responsible person. If it is one parent or two parents, as a child, you cannot be responsible in that situation. But I do understand, because I have naturally that energy with me. So that's also understanding your design, is that you have naturally that energy with you, and you naturally invite people to, without doing anything, people will sort of always feel that they can ask you for that role. And what I noticed also was that I got that role in the jobs when I started to work. I had a role which wasn't always um, the main responsible person, but that person that was mainly responsible saw, oh, Tiffany can do this, let's ask her, and I'm really helpful. We as projectors are really helpful, so we always want to help. And I also act out my energy then. But if it's not a proper invitation, if I cannot really say and ask myself, okay, do I feel, is this for me? Am I really invited? You know, it is very different when, and that's what makes us also bitter, when people use our qualities but don't recognize us for it.
Yes.
So they always ask me to do things and I always say yes. And then I get frustrated when I don't have mandate, when I don't have influence, because as a leader, I want to have influence and I want to have mandate. And then I come in a situation that push comes to shove, I don't have it. And then I get bitter and frustrated. And as we know, bitterness is not something that is an in the moment thing, but it's a build-up thing. So if you come in enough of those kind of situations, and unknowingly, unconsciously, I have been from a child, you would say, from the age of a child, I became very bitter about being of service, being in that role of the leader, because I couldn't really be a leader. I wasn't really recognized for my qualities as a leader. So that is how I relate design to life. And then the next step is then, okay, now I know this. I will, next time when somebody asks me, for instance, now when my manager asks me to do things, or my colleagues ask me to do things, I give them back to the person who is in charge. I say, listen up, it's not up to me, it's up to you. So I trust you, I believe in you, and I'll solve it, because I'm not going to do it. And when I will feel that I am really invited and really asked for that role, I will consider, because as you said, a splenic being, I'm a splenic being as well. So in that moment, I will feel, because it's a big decision to be asked to be a leader, I will feel if it's correct, and then we'll see what the next step will be.
You in that example, you bring up something that's really another nuance that's really important in terms of cultivating self-love and self-trust. And that is the boundary issue, using your authority and then drawing the boundary and actually taking that channel of the alpha, which is projected, and working with that energy to lead people or guide people back to where they need to go by recognizing that this is not correct for me to do. This is not a correct use of my energy.
And also, yes, and also as a guide, knowing that we can also guide that task or that responsibility back to that person and reflect it back to that person so that that other person can feel, okay, I am trusted to do this. Um, and I said I can help you with all kinds of stuff, but in the end, when it comes to you taking action upon a certain matter, it's up to you. And I believe in you.
That's such a great example of the trust love relationship that we're looking at from all kinds of angles in this
Yeah, yeah.
conversation. You know, that is an act of love
I
to
hope so. Yeah,
to express your trust in them and then let it go. Let them
yeah,
do that thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's an act of love for them,
yeah,
expressing your trust, directing them, guiding them to go and
yeah.
do that for themselves. And it's also an act of love for you to do that as well for
Mm-hmm.
yourself,
Yeah,
because then you
yeah.
don't get caught up in their stuff.
Precisely, precisely. Yeah, and you also don't, which I find really important, is that you don't draw um, draw the attention to yourself where you are in a situation when there has to be taken action, you cannot take action because that's what is very frustrating. Now, if I need to solve a problem, but I don't have the mandate to solve the problem, I'm going to be frustrated because I'm
Yes.
going to see all the ways it can be solved. As a projector with my 1858,
Hmm.
I'm going to see all the ways it can be solved and I will have an answer very quickly for you. But it's not about that because in this situation, it's not about me and what I know and what I can bring forth. So
Yeah.
unless I'm asked for my advice, unless somebody wants to know, okay, what do you think about this? I just have to shut up.
Yeah. You know, that word frustration, that's the not self theme for the sacral beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and every time I hear a projector talk about frustration, or I hear it come out of my
Mm-hmm.
mouth that I'm frustrated,
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
it- like distilling like the human design experiment down to the very basics. When I hear
Yeah,
frustration, that's the number one clue that I'm out of alignment with being a
yeah,
projector with my projector
yeah.
energy. So
Yes,
I just wanted
yes,
to make that point.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good one. But then how is it for you? Because I'm always also very curious about you because with your 553 or is it 35?
Three five, three
Three
five
five. Yeah,
profile.
that's as I understand it's very much about trial and error,
Hmm.
but also about direction. So you're very good, if I'm not mistaken, at least to feel what direction needs to be taken.
If when I allow myself the space,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I struggle with, and I'm putting this together in this moment with the wide
Mm.
split that I have. I have a
Yeah.
tendency to clutter my energetic space, either
Mm.
with the mental stuff that I'm working
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
I always have mental pressure. So, maybe I
Yeah.
should do this, maybe I should do that. If
Mm-hmm.
the gate of doubt is in the transits, I'm in that, like,
Just
if I'm not aware
yeah.
of it, I'm in that doubt,
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
doubting my direction, doubting the direction that needs to happen, doubting what needs to go next, whatever it is, or doubting
Mm-hmm.
myself. Um, so if I allow myself to stay in the space, have a clear space,
Mm.
a lot of times um, I can wait for the direction to uh, pull me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And,
Yeah.
and for me, that's actually the level of, I think, self-love and trust that I'm working on at this moment. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and for me, the path is taking me into mindfulness meditation, really deepening the
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the
Yeah.
just being present in the moment and cultivating my meditation practice
Yeah.
in that vein. And that clears a lot of the space for me. It's a practice that helps me to get
Mm-hmm.
out of the not self area or the not self realm of
Mm-hmm.
I've got to fill it up so that I
Yeah.
feel integrated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I can wait
Yeah.
for the person or the people, the
Yeah.
opportunity, and
So if
feel
I understand you.
yeah, and then with the splenic response, with the way I've
Mm-hmm.
been tapping into my splenic response, it's very
Mm-hmm.
much a rhythm of wait, 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 clear, clear, clear,
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have stillness. We both have the right angle cross of service in the same,
Yeah.
yeah. So the 52 is there in the unconscious sun. Yeah. Yeah. 58's the unconscious
Yeah.
earth. And it's all about still, still, keep the body still,
Yeah.
be in
Yeah.
that clear space. And
Yeah.
then in the moment, it'll be like not now, not now, not now, nothing, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
nothing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
which is the mind is nothing, nothing, nothing's happening, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
The mindfulness is
Yeah.
feeling into the stillness,
Yes.
seeing what's coming, feeling what it's about, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not it's correct, whether the time is correct, and then in that moment,
Yeah.
the right moment, the
Yeah.
direction takes
Yeah.
takes shape. So,
Yeah. I find it really beautiful that you say that because that is that is so much about trust. You know, trusting to wait and that it'll be okay. I think when you spoke, I also felt that what I also did during my previous years is um, because you don't trust that void, because you don't trust that stillness, and you think you have to do something to be recognized, you're going to fill yourself up because you think, oh, I need to do something. So that's also where I noticed that I just get restless and I can't stand still because the fear of when I stand still, when I'm in that void, when it is quiet, while that is very much my nature, it's like, can I trust that I will be able to be present in that moment when it comes, as you said, and will I be able to handle it, whatever it is, whatever
mm,
it is, will I be able to handle it? Can I trust
yeah,
myself enough? And
yeah,
that's just such a lesson.
yeah. I feel like the that waiting space, as I call
Mm,
it, is um is a space of preparation, but
mm,
it can so easily be hijacked by the not self mind, the mental
mm,
pressure to be certain and, all of
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and, then you get into like the mental gyrations of being
mm,
prepared,
yeah,
which, probably for some people, getting deeper into the chart, if they have fear motivation, or if they have a line
mm,
one in their profile,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
whatever that is, it
yeah,
it may on some level be correct. So yeah,
yeah,
just to say that everybody's chart is different.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But in
definitely.
terms of my personal experience, it's like waiting in preparation
Mm-hmm.
is very different than preparing while you're waiting. And I'm
Yeah,
just making that distinction, that
connection. Yeah, yeah,
understanding, that
yeah,
connection right now.
yeah.
It's preparing while waiting is uh is the part that can be hijacked
Yeah.
by like, oh, I have to take this course and I have to, go to this group and I have
Yeah.
to, you know, do
Yeah.
this and for
And
me
all
is
the
a
energy from people, from other people coming in because you're
yeah,
open. So other people are coming in with their energy
yeah,
in the mix. So they are also bringing that outside pressure in.
yeah,
Okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna
yeah,
do? And
and
you're like, I need to wait.
yeah, well,
And other people wanted
you
to
have a
do so.
defined G center, so maybe it's different
Yeah.
for you than it is for me, but I have an undefined G center. So I have
Mm,
to be very, very careful about who I bring in and what
mm,
energies I bring in when I'm in
yeah.
that preparation space,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'll be off in another direction.
Yeah.
And some of that, like some of it is experimentation, but I have to be
Mm,
very wise about what to experiment with
yeah.
and what direction that's actually going to lead me, and is that healthy for me? Or is
Yes.
that really
Yes.
a good use of my energy?
Yeah. Yeah. I find that a really beautiful difference between us because where your third line asks for that experimentation, you know, I have the fourth line. And from that fourth line, of course, we also experiment, but that has worn me out. Experimentation. It really has. It really has. It's, I'm so happy that I hope not too soon that I will be sort of done with and then accumulated enough wisdom, I would say, coming off the roof to trust that what comes will be just right for the moment.
Yeah. 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 And
Yeah.
just to clarify for those who are listening, I think you're referring to like that third line nuance of the sixth line of your
Yeah.
4-6 profile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the sixth line lives the first years as a third line before it really steps into the power of the sixth line. And
Mm.
the sixth line is also, as they say, aloof. So a little bit out of this world. Not, it seems not in touch. But what I'm learning, it's not about not being in touch, but it's about seeing so much that you can only see so much when you're sort of on the outside, looking in. That's how we learn so much from everything that is there.
Hmm.
And as you said, yeah, my G is defined, so I really have to be careful that I don't speak before my turn. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You said so much, so many beautiful things. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about relating your trust experience for work. How
Mm,
does your experience that you described about your relationship to trust
mm,
in your work life
mm, yeah,
relate to the relationship aspect,
yeah,
the
yeah,
love relationship aspect?
yeah. I think that's a really important question because it relates to two things. It relates very much to my purpose, and my purpose is as a fourth line to make the connection from the heart with people. As I said in the beginning, it's all about relationships for me. It starts and it ends with relationships. So um, like my job, I have a really nice job, but on the other hand, I feel like I'm not really using my qualities as a guide in what I do. And at a certain level, I find it okay because in the end, every day I learn about the relationships I have at my job with the people I work with.
Mm,
When I have to deal with somebody that is micromanaging me, it's about the relationship I have with that person where I'm learning so much. When I look at the relationship with my team leader, it's and putting him in his power to be that leader of our team. It's about me and my relationship and how I had to see by the insights I talked about, where it wasn't my place and where I can help him by giving him his responsibility or saying, okay, this is your responsibility. That's all about relationships. And um, I think that because it's all about relationships in the basis, it's about learning who I am. As you said, find out who you are and be more of that. So through all the relationships I meet, I find out who I am, and I try to be more than that. And if I relate it to a love relationship, when I do meet someone that is available, I hope that I am so much more of me, so much more in alignment with me, that that is what can be the love between me and a beautiful person.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I'm hoping for.
And
you
it,
know?
so let me just cap off our conversation by
Yeah.
this a thread that I see here. Um, the experiences, because we've talked about all kinds of things here,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, uh, all of our life experiences, like there's no right or wrong.
Hmm.
And it doesn't make us less of a projector if we're living in our conditioning or our not self or,
True.
you know and what you've described from your experience and with this topic of relationships and trust and love,
Hmm.
is that it's really important to uh, work with all of the experiences to
Yes.
create a higher level of awareness, to
Yes.
use them. It's like the experiences are coming to us
Hmm.
so that we can master ourselves, so that we can
Yes.
learn who we are and be more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Yes. And
Yeah.
I know from my design, but also just life experience, I have this mind where I connect stuff. It's all a network. So every experience, every day you have an experience, it lights up for me and it connects.
Hmm.
It connects to small insights, big insights, and at the end, I notice more and more that it is about relationships, how I can be the better person in a relationship. And I don't mean better than another person, but just grow to be a better person within myself,
Yeah, and more true to
more
you.
true to who
Yeah.
I am. Yeah. Um, and just be, let that be the heart of me, where I have the 39, and let that be the presence of me, which is my pearl.
Yes, your pearl in the gene keys.
Yes,
It's awesome. That's
yes.
awesome. Is there anything, one final thought that you may have, or was that it?
No, I think
Because
that was
that was
it.
good.
That
That was good.
was,
Well, thank
yes.
you so much, Tiffany, for in actually inviting me into this conversation with you. And I'm really appreciating our back and forth and our collaboration. And I'm so excited that we've gotten a piece of it out for other projectors to
Mm.
enjoy, maybe other energy types as well. But thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation.
Oh, thank you too very much. I really enjoyed it. I love connecting with you. I think you're amazing. And I love that you said also the back and forth, because that's what gives us energy. you know,
Yeah.
that's as a projector, that's what gives us energy. So yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
really, really beautiful. Thank you.
So now that we've completed our conversation,
Yes,
we'd like to invite you to share in the comments your experiences with your experiment and your experiences with trust and love.
yes, that will be amazing. Yeah,
Yes, fantastic. So we look forward to continuing the conversation with you.
yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you.